Hello everybody, and welcome back to Screen Stars, and welcome to another of my PlayStation 4 reviews. Today's review is for Ash of Gods Redemption on the PlayStation 4. Now, fans of turn-based strategy RPGs might be in for a little bit of a treat with this game, because that is exactly what you're getting. We are getting a strategic RPG that is really heavy on the narrative here, and I can't emphasize that enough. If you like good storytelling in your games, you have got a really cracking game here. If you're into like visual novels, things like that, I think again you're going to really enjoy this game. If you are more of a fan of turn-based strategy games, you might find elements of this game disappointing, because from my perspective, the worst aspect of this game is actually the combat side of it and the battles. They're a little bit unimaginative and a little bit repetitive, and don't offer an awful lot of variety. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So what is this game about? Well, this game, and I don't want to really spoil the story, but it's kind of like the gods fell years ago, and then these reapers come back and they are wiping out society and towns and cities, and it is for you to band together and fight back against these creatures. Now, that's a very simple way of trying to explain this story, and it's literally because I don't want to spoil it, because easily the best part of this game is the story and the narrative. It really draws you in, and that says a lot, because I'm not a huge fan of RPGs and games that don't have an awful lot of voice acting. So I will say that straight away. If you are a fan of games with voice acting, you're going to be disappointed here, because there is very little voice acting to speak of here, very little at all, and you're going to be doing a lot of reading. Now, that normally would put me off, because I'm not a big fan of that in games. I like voice acting, generally speaking, but this story is so interesting, and the characters are really quite interesting for the most part. Sometimes it does get a little bit dull and repetitive, some of the text that you have to read, but for the most part the story really draws you in and keeps you going, and you get really invested in this story and these characters, and I don't think that's an easy thing to do, especially when there's no voice acting involved for the most part. So I really do have to respect the game makers for that, because I think they've done a good job there. You make decisions in this game that heavily impact how the game forms itself going forward. There are genuinely repercussions for any powerful decisions that are made, and it does warn you if you're going to make a decision that could affect the game. So not every choice that you make is going to make an impact, but certainly there are some key decisions you will make that will affect how the game plays out, for sure. There are many different characters and different types of characters in this game. And the idea is you're kind of going through the game and like recruiting people as you go to join, for you to get stronger and more powerful and fight off. And you've got you've got your warriors, you've got your archers, you've got your spearmen, mages. You've got all these different elements that are supposed to, if you like, give you some variety, certainly when you're going into the battles. But as I've already mentioned, I think the battle system here is easily, I think, the weakest part of it. It looks the part when you're doing the battles and things, and for a turn-based strategy fan, all the elements are there. It's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's just unimaginative, and what you can do, you can choose to attack their life energy or their physical energy. And it does add a little bit more of a strategic element to it, and you can use cards as well in battle, but it's just a little bit unimaginative, and after half a dozen battles you've kind of seen all it's got to offer. But there is an option in the game where you can choose to do AI controlled battles, and there are times when I chose to do that, because I was getting so invested in the story in this game. I wanted to see what was going to happen next, so I wasn't that interested in the battle in between. So I would put it on AI and see the battle play out. And for the most part, if you've got the right characters for that battle with the right equipment and you're skilled up correctly, then you'll probably get through it with the AI with very little problems, generally speaking. So from my perspective, you can see that as a positive or a negative. It's a positive because it tells you that the narrative is so good and the story is so good that I wanted to get through the battle to carry on with the story. But a lot of these games, you look forward to the battles in between the story as well, because they're usually so well done. And like I say, this one, not so much. It's not terrible, I've seen far worse. It just, like I say, after you've done a few battles, you've kind of seen it all it's got to offer. It doesn't get much different throughout. You can navigate your way through a map. You can go to towns, talk to different people. You can skill up your party as you recruit people. If you enter them in battles, they will gain experience, and you can skill them up. So it's got light RPG elements for the most part, this game, and characters can die in this game. If you lose a character, that's it, they've gone. And as you can see, the visuals, they're just beautifully hand painted graphics, and it's got a very, very unique feel and look to this game. A little bit like, is it the Bannerlord games, I think, that I haven't played but I have seen and I'm interested in. It looks and feels very much like those games. So it's a hard one, this. I mean, this was fairly budget priced. I think it was $24.99 I paid for it, and it was released just last week on the PlayStation 4. So in the UK, $24.99, you'd call it a budget title, really. And I think for the length that you're going to get out of this game, and the story that they're weaving here, it is worth that. And if you're a fan of narrative driven games and turn-based strategy games, there is a lot for you here to enjoy. But like I've said, be warned, there is very little in the way of voice acting. You're the one that has to put the effort in to read the dialogue, and I promise you, if you do read the dialogue, you'll get drawn into the story and you will enjoy it more and more, because I was really quite surprised. I'm not usually one for games without voice acting, especially games like this. I'm not usually one to read dialogue and things, much of it, but the dialogue, it was so well written and the story was so interesting to me that I wanted to read it, and I was getting drawn into these characters. So yeah, it's one of those, I think, that if you're a fan of this kind of genre, you're going to enjoy it, but be warned, you have to put the effort in with this game. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's a game I'm enjoying more than I expected to, and it is certainly a well-made game. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review.